We'll invite you to close your prayer books for a few moments as we turn to this evening's guest speakers. I'm going to introduce both of them by reading their succinct biographies, and then I'll invite one to come up, followed by the other. Every year, we get the opportunity to hear from college students about their experience of being on campus. We ask them to reflect on what it's like to be Jewish on campus, what their kind of Jewish identities have brought them to, how they've influenced them, how they've changed over the years, what Jewish activities they're involved in. They reflect on all sorts of different things every year. And this year, obviously, as has been the case now for 2 years, life on campus has become different than it likely was for most of us when we were on campus in our time. So we will have the opportunity to hear from two fabulous but really different people at two different schools, and I'll just volunteer them after the service if you have any questions you want to talk to them about. They are both very well-spoken individuals who I know are happy to answer any questions that you might have. So with no further ado, Jordyn Novick is a senior at the University of Michigan, majoring in biomedical engineering, graduating early this December. Yeah, Novick, not surprising, but amazing. So a mazel tov for that too. Following graduation, she'll be joining Medline Industries as an associate product development engineer. And I think actually, Jordyn, this is the first time I guess this is my 24th college Shabbat at North Shore Congregation Israel, where we've actually had a college student who was employed following graduation. So shehechianu to that, mazel tov to that. And no pressure or anything on Ben Shapiro, who will follow. He is also fabulous, a senior at the University of Illinois, studying biochemistry and statistics. These are two real underachievers. Since 2022, he has served as president of Illini Hillel, championing Jewish activism and collaborating with numerous organizations to combat campus anti-Semitism. Won't you welcome them both warmly? And Jordyn, I'll invite you to come up. Let me just size this to your height. I think it's all
good. I think it's good.
Is it good?
Perfect.
All right. Go for it.
Okay. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Hello. As Rabbi Geffen mentioned, I'm a current senior at Michigan who is unfortunately graduating in just 2 weeks. Having been home for Thanksgiving this week, I took some time to reflect on my past 4 years at Michigan, specifically what I've learned, what I've accomplished, and how being Jewish has shaped my college experience. Coming into college, I did not know how my Judaism would shape my experience, but I've come to find that Judaism has impacted my experience in ways I could have never imagined. When I first arrived at Michigan as a freshman, I didn't realize how big and diverse the campus was. While the university does a good job of acknowledging diversity, it is clear that every identity isn't always fully respected or understood. Being Jewish at Michigan has sometimes meant confronting assumptions, dealing with anti-Semitism, or witnessing moments of tension around political issues related to Israel, especially recently. One moment in particular that stands out to me happened just last year. My parents came to visit during a convocation ceremony that honored students for various accomplishments. My parents were so excited to celebrate this academic milestone with me, and I was just as proud to have them there, as I knew I would not have been able to accomplish what I did without their support. But as the ceremony was taking place, a group of students began protesting in the middle of it. Pro-Palestinian activists disrupted the event with chants and signs. The protest quickly grew louder and more intense, and I felt an immediate sense of discomfort. I remember looking around at my parents and seeing the concern on their faces. We all knew that political tension around Israel-Palestine could be charged on college campuses, but to have it play out in such an intimate and public setting, right in the middle of a day that was supposed to be about students' accomplishments, felt deeply unsettling. It wasn't just the disruption that was upsetting. It was the sense that in that moment, my identity as a Jewish student was being treated as solely a political issue. In the end, my parents and I made the decision to leave the event early. That special moment, which was supposed to be about celebration and family, had been tainted by a political protest that left me feeling alienated. I remember feeling frustrated and sad, not just because of the protest itself, but because it felt like something that should have been a joyous, proud experience had been overshadowed by a tension that I couldn't control. That day made me realize how complex it can be to navigate life as a Jewish student on a campus that is as diverse as Michigan. It's not just about the academic challenges or the social adjustments. It's also about understanding how to exist in a space where your identity can sometimes be politicized or misunderstood. That experience stayed with me, and it reinforced the need for me, as a Jewish student, to find ways to navigate these difficult moments with strength and resilience without losing sight of who I am. This experience reminded me how much work there still is to be done on Michigan's campus and beyond in creating a more inclusive environment for everyone. I've come to realize that as a Jewish student, I have a responsibility to advocate for my own community as well as foster a dialogue that contributes to the larger conversation and the tension at hand. Since that moment, I've made it a point to seek out spaces where I could find support and contribute to a positive and constructive dialogue. One place that has been a source of comfort and support and community for me has been the Jewish Resource Center, where I've gone for Shabbat dinners and other events. Being in that space has reminded me of the strength of the Jewish community at Michigan and how it can provide a sense of belonging and solidarity, especially in the times when the world can feel so uncertain. In addition to finding a community that supports me, I've also felt a sense of responsibility to contribute to the broader conversation on campus. After witnessing the political tensions around Israel and Palestine, I've participated in peaceful Israeli counter-protests where I've stood alongside other Jewish students, not to escalate the conflict, but to foster dialogue and provide a counter-narrative that's rooted in respect and mutual understanding. These efforts have been about ensuring that our voices are heard, voices that advocate for peace, respect, and the importance of addressing complex issues in a way that promotes dialogue and not division. While the campus environment may not always be easy to navigate, these experiences have shown me the power of advocacy and the importance of standing up for my community in ways that contribute to meaningful conversations. I've learned that as a Jewish student, I am part of something much larger than myself, a community that is resilient, compassionate, and committed to building a more inclusive world for everyone. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you. Jordyn, thank you. You inspire us. You always have. We have been so blessed to watch you grow up. We know your family is felling all around you, which they should, but all of us are, and we are so grateful to you for everything that you bring, not just the advocacy work and pride you have in your identity, but the person that you are and the better world you're building. So thank you. Ben. I think probably still the right, I don't know.
Yeah, no, this is about good, yeah. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. My name is Ben Shapiro, and I'm a senior at the University of Illinois. Tonight, I want to share with you a bit about my experience being Jewish on a modern college campus. Growing up in Deerfield and belonging to NSCI, being Jewish wasn't something I thought about much. It was just something I lived. Shabbat dinners at home, keeping kosher, and learning about Judaism and Israel were simply parts of my life, like school or sports. It never felt like I was in the minority. Unfortunately, that changed when I went to college. Early in my freshman year, my roommates and I were looking for something to do, and we stumbled across some of the weekly programs ran by our Hillel. By spring, we were regulars and felt deeply connected to the community. It was one of the places where we felt truly safe, a place we felt we belonged. Unfortunately, that sense of safety was challenged when Palestinian protesters associated with the now expelled student organization, Students for Justice in Palestine, came to our Hillel and threw rocks at the building, following a failed BDS movement and student government. Not long after, Flyers spread around campus accusing Jews of being responsible for the COVID agenda were found. That was the first time in my life I felt I had a target on my back. From that moment on, I felt I had a responsibility to help change the narrative on campus. I got in touch with Stand With Us and became an Emerson Fellow. By my sophomore year, we were routinely bringing in Israeli educators and setting up tables on the quad to engage not only Jewish students, but the broader campus population. Through education and ally building, we began creating a safer and more welcoming campus environment for Jewish students. For a while, things seemed to improve for the Jewish community. That was until the fall of 2022, when posters were found on the campus that read, "We must exterminate the Zionists." Though the posters were taken down, I couldn't believe something like this could happen today. After being elected president of our Hillel, I began meeting with our campus administrators to figure out how they could allow so much hatred against Jews to continue. The bottom line was always the same. The administrators explained that unless threats of violence were made against specific students, such open hatred would fall under the umbrella of free speech. While I understand the sacred value of free expression, from my experience, free speech seems too often to serve as a cover for the double standard against the Jewish community. Unfortunately, anti-Semitism continued to grow at the University of Illinois. In the spring, various student groups raised money on the quad for Hamas, advertising it as donations for the government of Gaza. Alongside them were posters reading "Globalize the Intifada." How such things were allowed still baffles me. Following the fall, things worsened. After October 7th, the university sent an email condemning all forms of hate, including anti-Semitism, but more interestingly, Islamophobia, homophobia, and transphobia. It would seem that only when Jews are under attack does all hatred seem to be lumped together. Even when we held a vigil in the center of campus for the over 1,200 men, women, and children that were killed or taken hostage, anti-Semitic groups continue to protest us. The situation became so dire that Jewish student leaders from Hillel, Chabad, AEPI, ZBT, SAMIS, AEPhi, and SDT were all called to meet with university deans. At first, this seemed promising, like the university really wanted to work with us. It should not have been a surprise that it quickly became clear that this was not their intention. After being seated, we were told this was a listening session. They let us share our experiences while the administrators pretend to listen. Nothing, of course, came from these meetings. In April of last year, things reached a new low point. Well over 100 students set up an encampment in the center of campus. Dozens of posters were displayed comparing Jews to Jeffrey Epstein. Photos of mutilated children were plastered on campus buildings, bus stops, again, blaming the Jews. One day, my roommate and I were walking through the quad when a protester approached us, screaming, "You better not be Jews." Despite extensive documentation of these events being sent to the university and police, the responses were weak and pretty much useless, often centered on student mediation. The chancellor attempted to hear both sides by hosting separate meetings. Hundreds of Palestinian protesters attended their meeting, but when it was time for Jewish students to meet, only 2 Jews joined me. Most Jewish students felt disenfranchised, and these meetings were a waste of time and only served to give the administration the satisfaction of claiming that they had engaged with our community. They were pretty much right, and nothing came from these meetings. The encampment continued until the semester ended, and students went home for summer break. While it has certainly been a dark time to be a Jewish student on campus, I want to end with some optimism. Since the encampment, with the help of many student leaders and our friends at JUF, the University of Illinois has amended its policies to extend protection against discrimination and harassment to Jewish students. Zionism is now recognized as a protected identity class, meaning speech that alludes to violence against Jews or the destruction of Israel violates university policy. Additionally, Students for Justice in Palestine have been banned, and 4 of their students, including their former president, face felony charges and up to 3 years in prison for inciting mob action. With regards to the current school year, there's been a significant decrease in anti-Semitic incidents, thankfully. Overall, while my time at the University of Illinois has been filled with many challenges, I'm incredibly proud of how our university and community have stood strong and unified in the face of such adversity. The progress we've made gives me hope for a future where Jewish students can feel safe, respected, and empowered. I look forward to seeing this dream become a reality soon. Thank you and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Just stay with me for 1 second. Amazing.
Ben also makes us so proud for so many reasons all the time, not a surprise in any way. I was joking with Ben earlier that when I was searching for his bio that he had sent me, his Devar Torah from his bar mitzvah actually showed up in my Google Drive, and I got to see the deep wisdom and Jewish pride. He's actually felt very confident and comfortable, not only feeling, but in expressing since he was a boy. And now he is not a boy. You should all know that Ben, maybe this is, don't get mad at me. Beyond everything that Ben said, Ben has been notably outspoken beyond the university community. You may have seen him written up in the news, on the news. He has been a passionate advocate for our community, partnering with so many people, not just his peers, but big grown-ups out in the big world, showing up even when it isn't easy, even when the rest of the community isn't necessarily right there with him, because he knows what is right and lives by his convictions. He literally walks his talk. And Ben and Jordyn bring us both such great pride in your development as amazing Jewish adults. We are so proud of you always. Thank you so much. Give them one more hand, please. You give us a lot of hope, I think, in this world where sometimes hope is hard to find. And I know for myself, as a besides my rabbinic realm, I'm a mother of a senior in high school, and I know there are a few others of those around the room, and you help us to feel possibly a little bit better about what awaits our kids in their next journey. So Ben, Jordyn, thank you so